In this video, we're going to look at how to make a drum machine-style drum matrix for programming drum patterns in Pro Tools. A lot of people complain that it's difficult to edit MIDI drums in Pro Tools, and while there is no true dedicated drum editor, you can get pretty close to it using some of the features that are already available. So the first thing we're going to do is make a few tracks. I'm going to want one stereo aux input and one MIDI track. And we'll go ahead and leave them with the default names for now. Then I'll go ahead and show my inserts in the edit window. Here you could assign the drum virtual instrument of your choice, but I'm going to keep it simple and use Avid's free Expand 2 plugin. And then I'll go ahead and select a drum preset. Then we can go ahead and close the plugin interface. Now I'll go ahead and show my I/O settings in the edit window as well. And on this first MIDI track, I'm going to set the input to all of my available MIDI controllers and the output to the Expand plugin on channel 1. At this point, you should be able to play some notes on your MIDI controller and hear the drum sounds in Expand. The next thing you want to do is figure out which of the Expand drum sounds you want to have mapped out in your drum matrix. For our purposes, we're going to keep it simple and just use the kick, the snare, the closed hi-hat, and the open hi-hat. But you could expand this to include any or all of the drums in the virtual instrument. Now, with those 4 notes in mind, I'm going to go ahead and start recording on the MIDI track. And then I'll play each note one time. Then I'll stop recording. Now if I zoom in on this MIDI region, you can see that there's one note for each of the 4 drums that I chose. Next, I'll go to the Event menu and choose Event Operations, select Split Notes. There are quite a few settings in here, but we're only going to change a couple of them. First, we'll set the pitch criteria to all notes. Then we'll move down to the Action section and tell Pro Tools we want to split notes by copying them to a new track per pitch. And then I'll go ahead and press the Apply button. And then you can close the Event Operations window. Now, as you can see, what Pro Tools did is created 4 new tracks, one for each of the notes that I played. And at this point, I'll disarm these tracks for recording, and I'll go ahead and get rid of the original MIDI track that I created. The next thing you want to do is go ahead and give your track some meaningful names. So we'll go back to the aux, and we'll call it drums. And then we'll go on to name each of the tracks that contains a MIDI note. From top to bottom, that would be open hi-hat, closed hi-hat, snare, and kick. And at this point, you can go ahead and remove the clips from those tracks. You may even want to go into the clip list and clear the original recorded clip. Next, we'll go ahead and switch our edit mode to grid and set our grid value to 16th notes. This is a pretty typical resolution for a drum editing matrix. And you'll want to make sure to show the bars and beats ruler and select that as the main time base. In fact, I'll go ahead and remove minutes and seconds and markers just to keep things clean. And now we'll zoom in so we're only seeing a couple of bars. Now we're ready to begin programming on our drum matrix. If I choose the pencil tool and select the line mode, I can now enter drum hits on my newly created matrix, just like you would in a drum machine style sequencer. I can even click and drag on a track and get continuous 16th notes. And now if we go ahead and audition those two bars, you'll hear a basic drum pattern. You'll probably want to go ahead and enable loop playback so you can hear your pattern repeating. One cool trick we can do with our drum matrix is to display the independent velocity playlist below each track. If I hold down the Option key on Mac or the Alt key on Windows while I click on the disclosure triangle to show automation lanes, I can open them all simultaneously. This makes it really easy to edit velocity for each of our independent drum tracks. Once you're happy with the pattern you've created, it's a good idea to switch all the tracks back to the clips view. By holding down the Option key and selecting clips on one of the tracks, I can switch them all back to showing clips. And then an easy way to work with this 2-bar groove that I've created is to create a clip group. I simply select across all of the clips and choose Clip, Group. And now, even though those clips are all on separate tracks, I can manipulate them as if they're a single clip. It's a good idea to give the clip group a meaningful name as well. Now if I zoom out a bit, I can easily duplicate this clip group to build out the drums for the rest of my song. And that's how you create a basic drum matrix inside Pro Tools. It may not be as powerful as some of the dedicated drum editors in other applications, but it's as close as you can get with the current Pro Tools feature set. Obviously, at this point, you'd want to go through and map out all of the drums on your preferred virtual instrument, and then save that session as a template to use for subsequent sessions. You can easily do this by going to the File menu and choosing Save as Template. You can choose the category. In this case, music would be the most appropriate, and give it a meaningful name like Drum Matrix so you'll know what it is the next time you go to create a session. Then the next time you launch Pro Tools, if you choose Create Session from Template, you'll see Drum Matrix as one of the available options. And you're immediately ready to start programming drums.